before I can't move on to the next topic if you guys have something planned, before I mention the craziest trend I've seen all week. And I have to give a little hat tip here to Ralph Michaels of Wager Talk. He put this on Twitter. The over has gone 19-0-1 in the last 20 season openers combined for these two teams. So Detroit's games have gone over by 13.04 points per game, and KC's games have gone over by 11.4 points per contest on average. So I like the over 52.5, long story short, but that trend really took me by surprise. The Eagles -4 at the Patriots. As someone who follows the Patriots pretty closely, living in Connecticut over here, I don't trust the Patriots offense, even if Bill O'Brien's back. The problem is the personnel that's going to be on the field. Apparently, Juju Smith-Schuster has some major knee concerns going on. I'm not a believer in Mac Jones. And the Eagles, despite losing both coordinators, you could make the argument here that every position on the field they have an advantage in. So I love the Eagles to take care of business there on the road. The Seahawks -5.5 versus the Rams. No Cooper Kupp. Means it's going to be pretty hard for the Rams to do much offensively. Although I do like some of the lesser-known guys. It's Tutu Atwell season here. You know me, Nick, with the obscure player props.
Yes.
Dating back from our time together. But I think on the other end here, Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker. I think they're going to be basically doing whatever they want on the offensive end against a Rams secondary that is the most inexperienced in football. I think this is going to be a complete onslaught. The Seahawks are going to win big.
Cincinnati for sure. Cincinnati is the only team that I think is proving consistently. I know Philadelphia did, but they're in the NFC. That has proven that they could stand toe-to-toe and play with Kansas City and beat Kansas City in a game that matters. Buffalo has never beat the Chiefs in a game that's really important, not one time. Beating them in a Week 5 game on Sunday Night Football does not count. We've seen Cincinnati go on the road to Kansas City in a playoff game and win. They've got the quarterback to do so. They got the defense to do so. And they just play Kansas City really tough. So the only team that I think Chiefs fans are worried about is Cincinnati. There's something about Buffalo that I just don't like. I think we're going to look back at the end of the season, and I really think we're going to look at that game against Kansas City where they lost, where they had that lead with 13 seconds to go. I think we're going to look at that as being the peak. It kind of reminds me of the Houston Rockets. Remember they had that series against Golden State and they lost in Game 7. Mm-hmm. The Rockets were never the same after that. That's what I think we're going to look at with Buffalo after this season, because you and I both know you don't go back with unhappy wide receiver. He only gets more unhappy as the season goes on. I'm actually fading Buffalo very heavy this year. That's a really good question. If I had to set the over-under right now at 3.5 games, I probably would take the over. If you just want me to look into my crystal ball, nobody knows, but let me just take a guess. They have a Week 4 game against the New York Jets. That just makes a lot of sense to me, that he maybe comes back in the next 10 days. They give him a couple of weeks to kind of get acclimated into practice, and then he plays in that Sunday night game against the Jets. You're talking about against Aaron Rodgers, prime time in New York City. That's just a game that you want to come back. I think this situation's a lot like Cam Chancellor. You remember a couple of years ago when Cam Chancellor missed the early part of the season with the Seahawks, and then he eventually came back to work. I think that's the most comparable scenario when it comes to Chris Jones.
I can see Washington being that team that wins 4 games this year and then wins double-digit games next year. I just think the game's past Riverboat Ron.
Well, that's one of the reasons why, too. That was my conspiracy theory on that, which he's a little threatened by Eric Bieniemy being there. And he's somebody that's got a more modern offense and has an understanding of the way today's NFL is versus where Ron Rivera is, where he's still talking about linebackers all the time and defense and running the ball more. And you're like, well, you got to be able to throw the ball, man. This is today's NFL. It's modern NFL. You have to throw the football, and you have to have a quarterback that can do it. And there's a certain point where if you're Ron Rivera, you've gone these many years, and he's still the one that controls the roster moves. He knows there's a new owner. There may be a new front office. This may be his last year there, so let me just make sure people know publicly that this Eric Bieniemy guy, he's a little mean to the players. They don't seem to like him so far. But me, don't worry, I'm good. They all come to me now. It's good cop, bad cop here. So, yeah, look. Look, you guys understand that for me, the floor.
I think I'm still over. I think,
and I think, but look, at
On
6
the
and a half.
Commanders?
yeah, I think I'm
Oh,
over.
don't
At
do
6
it.
and a half.
I'm not gonna take it, but if I had to take one,
Okay.
I'm not actually gonna put money on this. But if I had to go either way, I think I'd have to go over.
I honestly, look, you guys know that I'm a jaded fan, so if I say something about my team, I honestly, genuinely mean it. I think they go over that win total, but they're not going to be a team over 500. I'd love to say a 500 team, but they don't do that.
They beat a team like the Eagles once. That happens. They probably beat the Cowboys once.
You steal division games. It happens all the time. Like, they could beat the Cardinals and Broncos and start off 2-0. They're lose to the Bills. Then they could lose to the Eagles and be 2-2. But they could beat the Bears. They could lose to the Falcons. And after that, then it's the Giants, the Eagles,
I think
Patriots.
they beat the Falcons.
Yeah, like this team could easily. You've got and listen, the end of the season too. You've got like the Dolphins could be either really good or Tua could be hurt.
They got the Rams
You've got
in
the
December.
Rams at the end of the season. You've got, I mean, it's not an easy schedule, but it's not the early on they can chip away and add some wins. I think if you took the over 6.5 for Washington this year, you're going to probably be sweating late in the season.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's just either they didn't practice on the injury reports. Obviously, I was at practice today. Dobbs did a little bit with, warming up. Watson was more off to the side. But as far as their status on Sunday, I think, as Matt LaFleur said, they're going to give them through the week. But I think you have to be some level of concerned. It's not like, Randall Cobb, Allen Lazard, Devontae Adams are there if these guys can't go. This is a core group right now for Green Bay. You've got Aaron Jones, who's got 3,000 carries in his career. 3,000 snaps, excuse me. AJ Dillon, who's got over 1,000 snaps. Josiah DeGuara, 657. After that, his wide receiver group and his tight end group, this is what would be left over. Samori Toure, 112 snaps. Jaden Reed, 0. Malik Heath, 0. Dontavian Wicks, 0. Luke Musgrave, 0. Tucker Kraft, 0. Ben Sims, 0. If they call up their 2 practice squad guys at wide receiver because of the injuries, they both have 0. So there's not a lot of NFL snaps. And then, oh, by the way, Jordan Love, just a little over 100 snaps in his career in the NFL. So this would be a group outside of running back that has extremely, extremely limited snaps. So that would be quite the inexperience on offense with Jordan Love.
100%. I think that initial depth chart was probably just a little coach speak, maybe trying to light the fire under him a little bit, because this guy's a baller and he could obviously is going to step in right away. And I think obviously we're going to see a lot of double teams on Justin Jefferson. We know what he could do, so that's going to put, I think, a guy like Addison in a really, really advantageous spot, especially in week 1, I would say, against the Buccaneers pass funnel defense that really sells out against stopping the run. I think we could see a huge game from him, maybe attack one of those alternate lines. I might have to get on this right after we talk here. I think Jordan Addison's definitely someone to look at this week. I'm really high in that game too, by the way.